unexpected thank you for this warm welcome. Can you hear me? Is that good? All right, thank you for such a beautiful warm welcome. I am so thankful to be here this evening in San Antonio with you all, and I'm just truly so honored that Christy personally invited me here from my hometown of Clearwater, Florida, to share my story and raise awareness about the epidemic of domestic violence in our country. Although my story has been shared across the world, I am very excited to say this is actually my first time ever traveling out of state to spread my message. Yes. Thank you. Speaking is an opportunity I feel very blessed to have. As you saw in this 48 hours clip, I have been through a horrific tragedy that happened just over 5 years ago and a week after my 20th birthday. But when I was a teenager, nobody spoke to me about dating or domestic violence. I was completely uneducated about the cycle of abuse. I didn't know the dangerous warning signs, and I also had no idea how much help was available for victims and survivors. Unfortunately, I fell victim to abuse, and I almost lost my life because of it. I would never want to go through what I went through again, but with where I am today, I wouldn't change it. I feel that I lived to share my story, and I stand here before you now as a survivor on a mission. Although challenging, I share some of my most fearful and difficult experiences with you because, as you saw in this video, the statistics do not lie. Domestic violence is currently a public health crisis in our country, and it is affecting over 10 million victims annually. As you heard, it's very prevalent. According to the National Coalition, right now, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have experienced some form of abuse in their lifetime. But more frightening than that is the fact that 1 in 3 teenagers are currently victims of abuse in their relationships right now. So to me, when you think of the number 1 in 3 with our youth of our country, it's very startling and it's heartbreaking. And I'm sure you feel the same, especially if you have young sons and daughters or grandchildren at home. It solidifies the importance of why we are here this evening, and is that okay? It solidifies why we are here this evening and why we must continue to raise funds and money for the shelters to continue to help victims and survivors find safety. And also why we must join forces together and say enough is enough, because remaining quiet about this issue, even as a bystander, is why this violence will continue to grow and wreak havoc on all of our future generations. My speech may not relate to you directly, but I promise that someone you know and love has been or is currently being affected by domestic violence. Domestic violence does not discriminate. It can happen to individuals of any race, religion, culture, or age. Domestic violence abusers can be male or female, and it occurs in a devastating cycle, one that can cross generations and last a lifetime. Abuse comes in many different forms. People think of domestic violence as black eyes and bruises, physical violence, but it does come in many different forms: verbal, emotional, mental, physical, sexual, financial. The frequency and severity of domestic violence can vary dramatically from relationship to relationship, but the one constant component is one partner's consistent efforts to gain and maintain power and control over the other person. There is no excuse for abuse. Alcohol does not make somebody abusive. It may bring out the abuse, but it does not make somebody abusive. Childhood experiences do not make somebody abusive. It is strictly the desire for power and control over the other person. As I said, domestic violence does not discriminate. Domestic violence doesn't care if you are rich or poor. Domestic violence doesn't care if you are educated or not at all. Victims of abuse can be business leaders, doctors, lawyers, but also high school dropouts or stay-at-home moms. Domestic violence didn't care that I was a 20-year-old college student with a full life of dreams ahead of me when I was called over and over in the middle of the night and manipulated into meeting my ex-boyfriend for one last hug to have closure from the terrible end of our relationship. Our relationship ended 3 months prior to this phone call because of verbal, emotional, and escalating physical abuse. He assaulted me probably 5 times in the last 6 months or so of our relationship. And it wasn't until the final time that I was able to run away, call the police, and he was arrested. So I'm sure you're wondering, why would I stay if I was being hurt all that time? I kept quiet about the abuse because after he was to hurt me, he began to threaten suicide. So he said he was going to kill himself if I was to leave, and then he would show me how, taking pills, holding knives. He one time jumped out of my car, really crazy things. And he said that as his girlfriend, I should be helping him, not abandoning him during his time of need. So I agreed to try to stay and get him mental health counseling. I didn't like the way he was treating me, but I also didn't want him to harm himself, so I agreed to try and get him help. Once I realized this was a guilt trip, to get me to stay, I confronted him about it, and that's when the threats would turn to me. So if I was to speak up about what was going on, he was going to kill me, my mom, my family. He would take my phone and keys, so I could never get away or call for help. I remember one time he showed up at my work. He grabbed my face. No one was around. He said, "I know where you work, I know where you go to school, who you hang out with, and where you live. If you leave me, I will either find you and make your life a living hell, or I will kill you." And at this time, I was a strong, smart, independent girl, working full-time, in college full-time, but I was also hiding in silence and fear. I was always walking on eggshells to just keep him happy, and there's only one way to describe how I felt, and that is trapped. I wondered, how did I get in this situation? How could this possibly have gotten to this level? I was so relieved when he was arrested, and I was able to break my silence to my family with the help of the police. Obviously, as you saw, the freedom I felt was short-lived, and on January 24th, 2012, my entire life changed. My ex said on the phone, he said, called over and over again and kept ignoring them. Why is he even calling me? It was late. I answered, demanding to know what did he want. And he said, after everything we've been through, can you just give me a hug? He said he went to court that morning and it's all over, and he feels that we need closure from the terrible end of our relationship. He then started crying. He said he was in my area and it would only take a minute. I had an exam at 8:30 the next morning, and I felt that he was not going to stop. So I reluctantly agreed. And I took my phone and pepper spray just in case anything was to happen. I felt that I'd be able to protect myself. I ignored one of the most important gifts God gave me and each and every one of you here, and that is my intuition. It's that little voice inside you that says if something's right or wrong. I hope the biggest piece of advice that I could offer is that you will listen to it, you will tune in. You were given that ability for a reason, to sense danger. I hope you will always follow it. I ignored mine that night, and it was the biggest mistake of my life. The moment I walked outside, I could feel something was very wrong, but I continued on since I was already out there, completely naive, 20 years old, and completely uneducated about domestic violence and the fact that after leaving an abusive relationship is the most dangerous and volatile time, and when a majority of murders occur. There is no reason after ending an abusive relationship to someone meet with their partner. I hope that you will spread this message to anyone you know. If someone has already physically harmed you, or not just physically, harmed you in any way, you do not owe them a face-to-face apology or closure or breakup. It's just extremely dangerous. And so when he saw me, he reached his arms around for a hug, the one he cried and begged for, and held me tight, and immediately flipped open the knife, stabbed me in the back of the shoulder, in the back of my head, the side of my face, and repeatedly did with 2 different knives, 32 stab wounds total, all while my mother slept inside the house. My injuries were very severe. As I said, there was 32 wounds total, 19 of them were to my head, neck, and face. The rest were in my arms and hands in my defense. My skull was broken, nose was broken, jaw was broken, teeth were knocked out, facial nerve was severed, leaving me with paralysis. I had an extreme loss of blood that caused me to suffer a stroke, and my entire blood volume was actually replaced twice, and I was given 12 units of blood overall. And I even flatlined 4 times on the table, but the doctor said, the trauma surgeon, he said I wasn't giving up, so neither was he, and he worked for hours to stabilize me and stop the bleeding. Rock bottom became the solid foundation upon which I rebuilt my life. I spent many weeks in the hospital and many months in therapy. I've had probably 10 or more surgeries to get where I am today. I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to talk again. I had to learn how to close my eyes, drive my car, use my hands. I knew I had to get back to my job at the hospital where I worked. I knew I had to get back into school. I wanted to be a nurse. I wanted so badly to be the Melissa I was before. But what I didn't know at the time is that when you go through something traumatic, it changes you. I couldn't change what happened. All I could do is accept it. I couldn't close my eyes and make the scars disappear. I couldn't ignore the pending court case, and I couldn't stop all the interview questions and media requests. You can't change how others treat you or what they say about you. All you can change is your reaction to it. And when something bad happens in life, you have 3 choices. You can let it define you, you can let it destroy you, or you can make the choice to rise above and let it strengthen you. I made the decision that the attack was one day in my life and it would never define me. My mom always says that God didn't save me to live an angry or bitter life. I made the decision to turn my pain into purpose. My attacker's intentions were to commit a murder-suicide that night. And he had the "if I can't have you, nobody can" mentality. Thankfully, he failed on both accounts. He did leave me, attempted suicide, took pills and crashed his car, but he was saved as well. Spent 2 years in jail before October 2013, when the judge made the decision that this man, Robert Lee Burton Jr., was to be sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole. That was a defining moment in my life. I could no longer silence my inner voice telling me I was saved for something bigger. I had to let go of my plan and follow God's plan. And when I did that, everything fell into place. I decided to take a huge leap of faith, quit my job at the hospital, change my school plan away from nursing, and I became an advocate for an organization that helped me rebuild my life in Tampa Bay. It's called Hands Across the Bay. And every day I walk into work at Hands Across the Bay, I feel I am fulfilling my purpose of why I'm on this earth. We help rebuild the lives of survivors, and I get to go into schools regularly and speak about dating violence and the warning signs, the cycle of abuse, what to do if a teen finds themselves in this situation, and where to go for help. I wish I knew then what I know now, and I never want another woman to go through the same. Domestic violence is an epidemic in our society, and the work of Christy's Hope and Hands Across the Bay go hand in hand. Together, we are working tirelessly to raise funds to shine a bright light on a dark and hidden, but completely preventable issue. I feel it is my duty as a survivor to speak out for victims who are hiding in silence and fear, for anyone who has been emotionally beaten down by somebody who claims to love them, and for anyone who has been taught they somehow deserve that abuse. I share my story for my fellow survivor sisters. Our stories may vary, but knowing we are not alone and sharing our strength is so important as we move forward together. I share my story for those who are unaware of the damaging effects and the dangers of domestic violence. For those who ask, why does she stay? Or what did she do? I know something had to make him so mad. For those who think she should just leave, I'm here to tell you it's never as simple as just walking away. Women may stay because they are under full financial control. It may be their religious belief to not get a divorce or leave. They may fear that they'll lose custody of their children. They may have grown up in abuse and think it's completely normal. They've been in this cycle their whole life and they don't even realize their true worth. Or maybe they think they'll or will be murdered if they leave. Leaving an abusive relationship is absolutely terrifying, and why donating to Christy's Hope and your local shelter is vital for families to create a safety plan and escape without harm. Most importantly of all, I share my story to be the voice for our angels who have been forever silenced because their abusers succeeded in taking their life. I was so close to losing mine, and my promise to every mother and father of a murdered daughter or murdered grandchildren that I am carrying on their voice as I speak to you now. I'm carrying on their voice every time I speak in a high school, and I'm carrying on their voice every time I complete an interview. If you are currently being abused, or if something doesn't feel right with your partner, I hope that you will listen to your intuition and reach out to the San Antonio Battered Women and Children Shelter for assistance to safely end your relationship. I promise you it will not get better, and you can only give so many chances before you have to say enough is enough and stand up for yourself and walk away. Everyone deserves a healthy, safe, nonviolent relationship. You should be with somebody who loves you, respects you, listens to you, and makes you feel safe. I promise you are worthy of real love. I understand, and I do know, that not all men are this way. We have a lot of great men here in this room right now. There's also a silver lining to my story I would like to share with you. In a twist of fate, this horrific attack not only led me to find my purpose as an advocate, but it also led me to meet Cameron, who is now my husband of just a month and a half. Yeah. Well, we've been together over 4 years, and Cameron is actually the firefighter who was on my call, and he was the one who set up the landing zone for the helicopter and helped load me into it. It's true, it's my real life fairy tale, and I share this good news with you to remind you that there is life and love after abuse, but you have to first love yourself completely before you can be loved by someone else. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you for supporting Christy's Hope. Women often escape with nothing but the shirt on their back, completely broken self-esteem, and no hope for the future. The shelter is there to provide hope, healing, and safety. And with your donations tonight, you can continue on the legacy of Christy's Hope. Because of this event, over the last 19 years, as he was saying, I want to reiterate these amazing facts. Over the last 19 years, this event has raised over $2.4 million and counting, and counting. And these donations from Christy's Hope have enabled the San Antonio Battered Women and Children Shelter to expand their living quarters, to, as he said, purchase a moving truck to help women get out of their abusive relationships. It's also added a new playground, a new dining facility, a new laundry room, new computers and software, and many more advances. But most amazing of all, because of your generous support of Christy's Hope, San Antonio's Battered Women and Children's Shelter have been able to maintain an open arms policy and have never, nor will ever, turn a woman or her children away from safety. So many shelters across the country and in the county that I live remain full. Victims may only have one chance to escape, and we never want the reason for another precious life taken to be lack of funding. I encourage you to please give from your heart, and I thank you so much for letting me open mine. This is my story. Please don't let it be yours. Thank you.